Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lasorda. Listen to the Sandlot. The best thing that could happen to you.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Are you crying?
It's a part of our past, Ray.
There's no crying.
It reminds us of all that once was good.
There's no crying in baseball.
Just a bit outside.
Baseball will be very, very good to me.
It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Personally, I think we got holes on that.
The Sandlot Radio Network is on the air. And now, starting pitcher for the Sandlot, former pro player and Major League scout, Dan Haren.
Welcome to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. The Sandlot is sponsored by Econo Air, South Bay Credit Union, Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball, and Max Graphics and Printing. The Sandlot returns for its 12th season and second on our new home, Fox Sports Radio 610 AM and 1067 FM. We look forward to bringing you the childhood Sandlot stories from the biggest names in baseball, including players, coaches, scouts, front office personnel, and even media, as they reflect on their road to the big leagues. Our first show will introduce a brand new format, which includes a weekly guest host, a former major leaguer, to be back by popular demand, our Who's Hot, Who's Not opening segment, where we do a rundown on the hottest and coldest teams and players in MLB. This week's Who's Hot, Who's Not segment is being co-hosted by the one and only Ryan Spilborghs. Ryan is a former major league outfielder for the Rockies. He's currently a broadcaster for the Colorado Rockies on Rockies TV, and he's the co-host on Sirius XM Radio MLB Network's radio show called Loud Outs. And on top of that, Ryan Spilborghs does MLB Friday Night Baseball on Apple TV. That is a busy dude right there. He's also an Emmy Award winner. Spilly, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
You got it, TP. Always a pleasure.
Now, let's talk about the start of the Major League Baseball season. We had some surprises in the offseason with free agent signings and some people getting moved around. And now we're off to, 12, 14 games into the season, and we have some surprises. Give me your overview, because you're right down there in the middle of it every day.
Yeah, I see a lot of the National League West. I mean, the National League West right now has beat up everybody. The fact that the Giants have had, at times, the best record in baseball, then it's the Padres, the Dodgers got off to an 8-0 start, and then you have the Diamondbacks. You brought up free agent signs. Corbin Burns, the Diamondbacks, ends up being a bit of a steal, especially when you consider the overall rotation that the Diamondbacks have, with Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen and Brandon Pfaadt, who signed an extension. So National League West, TP has been the division that has just really shined. They've been shining with and especially with the team like the Giants. Buster Posey this offseason signs Willie Adames, another free agent. And Buster, as his first year as a big-time executive, looks like he's bringing baseball back to San Francisco.
And it's cool to see Buster Posey in that kind of position, and I got to see him at Florida State. I even got to see him when he was younger than that, and to see his career evolve the way it has, and, Hall of Fame type of catcher. And there's new rules based on Mr. Posey, but also Ryan, that National League West, for the Dodgers to go 8-0 to start the season and to be sitting in third place today is pretty crazy.
It is crazy, but it also shows you just how difficult baseball is in the National League. I mean, the Phillies are playing really well. We saw the Brewers are in the middle of a winning streak. I think they've won the last 7. So the National League, unfortunately, if you're an American League fan, I would tell you the American League is good, but the National League is much stronger.
And if you think about some of the pitching over in the American League, because the Blue Jays are off to a great start, the Yankees are playing okay. The Tigers have probably one of the best rotations of all of baseball, and not everyone's aware of that. And right behind them, from the Central, the Royals also have an unbelievable starting rotation.
Yeah, so you bring up a great point. The American League Central, you have some of the better teams that are just sneaky. I mean, Minnesota Twins can pitch too with Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan. But to your point, Detroit has Tarek Skubal, and they just added Jack Flaherty again. They have this kid, Reese Olson, who's really, really good. Just what the win-loss record from a year ago wasn't great. But, the Tigers have what they call pitching chaos, and they can match up against anybody. And then I love Kansas City. Kansas City is my pick to win the division. A lot of it has to do with pitching. It's Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Cole Reagans. But they have Bobby Baseball. And Bobby Baseball, to me, is this year's – he's going to be an MVP. He's going to win multiple MVPs in his career, and I think he's going to have a World Series under his belt at some point when he gets a full team around him. But Bobby Witt Jr. is one of my favorite players to watch consistently. He does it at a premium position and legit does things that I don't think I've ever seen from a shortstop.
And you had the fortune of playing alongside of Tulowitzki, and at one point he was as good as anybody had ever been in baseball at that position, and for a period of time he put up numbers better than anyone, and I can see Bobby Witt Jr. doing that for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, that was the separator with Bobby versus Tulo, and I'm glad you brought up Tulo. Tulo, for like a casual baseball fan, they're going to say, like, yeah, he was good, he was a byproduct of Coors Field. But when you look at his fielding percentage, most people don't know this, Troy Tulowitzki is second all-time in fielding percentage, right behind Omar Vizquel. And he's not behind Omar Vizquel by a lot. It's like 9.9876 to 0.9875. He is like, that's where Tulo ends up ranking. Tulo's a better fielder than Bobby Witt, even though Bobby has more range. And then Bobby, like I said, I haven't seen the skill set like Bobby. Batting champ, he can hit for power. He's a 30-30 shortstop that can win a batting title. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and it's so cool for Major League Baseball to have a young player like that in its repertoire. And then let's look at the American League West, because just like the National League West, the American League West is off to a pretty good start, playing pretty good. And the Rangers are 9-4, and surprisingly, the Angels, which is great for LA fans, are 7-4. And it's been a while since the Angels have had a winning record.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Angels. I mean, I feel like some of it, Ron Washington is like a key motivator, but I also felt, like that they weren't being realistic about where the organization has been, and to kind of see them out the gate the way that they have, and Logan O'Hoppy's like drilling homers, and they have this Kyron Paris kid that's just going off, changed his swing so he looks a little bit like Aaron Judge. It's a great story. And then any chance, I mean, I love Mike Trout. So obviously I want to see Mike Trout in the postseason. And if this version of the Angels can get there, I would be shocked. But I do love the improvement that they've made over the last couple of years.
I also like Ron Washington at the helm there, because he's just a real true baseball guy, old school. He knows infield and base running as good as anyone. And the Angels are going to excel at those things, which win a lot of ball games.
You got to hope so. I mean, that is exactly what Ron Washington preaches. He preaches baseball. He's one of my favorite baseball people to spend some time and talk to. There is no filter with him. So you do love that, because he gives it to you raw. And that's all you can ask for from anybody.
When you mentioned Judge, the Yankees have got this controversial bat that they're using, and I guess a lot of other players are starting to use it as well. And they proved that it has been effective, because they came out swinging in a couple games in a row where they had 20-plus runs and 8-9 home runs. And Judge has got 6 already, so it's pretty amazing. Well, he's going to hit a lot of home runs, but I'm wondering about this bat myself.
The torpedo bat. So the torpedo bat, Aaron Judge did not use at all. It's Anthony Volpe and Jazz Chisholm, and the bats is just a counterbalance. It's just changing the where the point of contact is, or the center of mass is on the bat for the hitter. So for Volpe, and the only way you could use these torpedo bats is you have to have it. The Yankees have a hitting lab, and that allows them to kind of get these bats lined up directly for that person. So I couldn't swing a Volpe bat. You couldn't swing a Volpe bat. Only Volpe can swing a Volpe bat. I think it's a little bit of a fad. I think there's going to be probably some regression from Volpe regardless. I don't think the bat's going to help him when you have swing and miss. But you also look at, what happened when that Brewers series at the beginning of the year, and one of that most people never paid attention to, it was the most amount of pitches that the Brewers threw that weekend under 90 miles an hour in all of baseball. The Brewers had 10 pitchers hurt. So there was a bunch of guys pitching in the big leagues that were making debuts or getting an opportunity where if they wouldn't get that opportunity. So I will pay attention to it. I'm just pointing out, I'm very skeptical about that's going to change offensive players' trajectories over the course of this year.
Last thing, Spilly, I want to get some predictions for the National League and the American League. Who do you think is going to represent both leagues in the World Series? I know it's early, and I know it's one of those things where we're going out on a limb, and I don't really like to do it. But I have a feeling we got a sense.
I don't know either, but my sense is I have a feeling I really like the Texas Rangers this year. I still like the Atlanta Braves, even though they've gotten off to a really bad start. They're going to get really healthy at some point this year. But, I did a preseason pick on MLB Network Radio. I said Rangers, Braves. I'm feeling a little bit less confident with the Braves just because I think Chris Sale's he's not looking great so far. And Ronaldo Lopez, who was a big part of it, has already had surgery on his shoulder. So I'm going to keep with the Rangers. And I'm going to stick with the Braves, but I think the Dodgers have a legit shot to go back-to-back. So I'm going to pick something different.
He's our first guest host of the year. He's Ryan Spilborghs, former Major League player, now the media man. He's doing Apple TV. He's doing MLB XM Radio, MLB Network Radio, along with Rockies TV. Spilly, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
You got it, TP.
Here's a little bit more about Spilly. He went to Santa Barbara High School and then got to stay in town and go play for Cal State Santa Barbara, where he was drafted by the Rockies in the 7th round and played 7 years and hit 276. And nowadays, if you hit 276 lifetime, that's about 30 points over the league average. So Spilly did pretty well as a major league player, and he's parlayed it into a great career as a media guy. Got all kinds of gigs from XM Radio on Sirius XM, MLB Network, to Apple TV on Friday nights, to sideline reporting and color commentating for the Colorado Rockies on Rockies TV. So this is a busy man. I want to thank Spilly. We're going to go to a break. Don't go away. When we return, we have 12-year major leaguer, a local product, who runs the run prevention pitching program for the Arizona D-backs. He even finds time to coach his 8-year-old son's team, MLB great Dan Haren. We're on KAVL's Fox Sports Radio, 610 AM and 106.7 FM. We are Fox Sports, the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Hey, it's former Major League Baseball player Matt Holliday, and I'm actually known as Jackson Holliday's dad these days. My son was the number 1 overall pick, and I got another one on the way. And we still listen to Sandlot Radio. Proud to be part of the Sandlot Radio family.
The heat was unbearable. My AC was striking out, and my house felt like a summer game with no shade. Then I called EconoAir. What a game changer. They knocked the heat out of the park, and now I'm comfortable year-round. Give EconoAir a call today at 714-333-0130. That's 714-333-0130. Sandlot listeners, mention the show for an exclusive discount on maintenance or repair with EconoAir.
Don't swing if it's not in the strike zone.
Where's the strike zone?
Right 2. Right there.
With so many banking options out there, why choose South Bay Credit Union? As a nonprofit credit union, they're here to serve you, not shareholders. That means they're able to provide better rates, fewer fees, and more valuable benefits to empower their members to live better and do better. You want to master your money? South Bay Credit Union puts you in control of your money with everyday banking solutions. From checking accounts to home mortgages, credit cards to auto loans, their members have access to the tools they need to achieve their financial goals now and in the future.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Talking baseball. Bobby fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew 'em all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
Welcome back to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. We're on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. Right now we have former Dodger and Angel and A and D-back and Cub. He was an ace right-hander for a really long time, and he won 157 games in the major leagues. He's Dan Haren. We're with a veteran of 13 major league seasons, won over 150 games as a major league pitcher. Right-handed pitcher Dan Haren, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Hey, I'm excited to be here and talk some shop.
So let's talk about growing up in Southern California, a kid that had exposure to some great baseball, great weather, great programs. Let's talk about, at what age did you start playing a game? Who are the teams that you looked at and followed, and the players that you really admired?
So I grew up in a city called West Covina, which is a pretty big baseball town. Several big leaguers have actually come out of there. Good high school baseball there. But I grew up, I started playing over at a park called Walmerado Park. And I think my first year I was 4 or 5 years old. Remember the park, we don't have that house anymore, but my parents lived directly across the street from the park. So it was a very, very short walk to get to the park, which I think was instrumental in my development. But yeah, I grew up playing there, playing pretty competitive baseball at a young age. And then now travel baseball starts so young, but back then my first little kind of travel team was called the West Covina Dukes, run by a guy named Duke DeFreitas, who is actually still doing it to this day. So it's a pretty impressive run for him. Grew up about 30 minutes east of LA and about 15 minutes north of Anaheim. And we grew up more of an Angel fan family and went to a lot of Angel games. Back then, spring training for the Angels was in Palm Springs. So as a kid, had many trips out to spring training to watch the Palm Springs Angels. I have a specific memory of being a kid and catching a foul ball at one of those games that, there probably was 100 people there watching, but remember that. And yeah, so grew up more of an Angel fan. Was my glory years of Angels were the guys like Brian Downing, Claudell Washington, the pitchers, Chuck Finley, Mark Langston, those guys. So those were the guys that were my favorites. Remember trying to get autographs down at the field and stuff. So grew up more of an Angels fan, still reside pretty close to where I grew up, about an hour south of there now. And like you said, I don't mind the beautiful weather of Southern California.
And back then it was the California Angels, and it was owned by Gene Autry. Is that correct?
True. Yes. Yeah, that's true. I remember playing with the Angels. They had some of the coolest throwback uniforms. One of my personal favorites was the hat that had the halo stitched at the very top of the hat, which I thought was just so cool.
Yeah, and another thing about the Angels during that time period, because the Dodgers were who they were, it was always kind of the redheaded stepchild of LA for baseball, until there was a point where they started to get really good and started to bring some real good talent in there. Yeah,
I mean, and even to this day, it seems like, it seems that way. But it's the Angels have, when I was there, we were really, really solid. Just never could get over the hump. Even down south here, closer to Angel Stadium, there's the Dodgers fans are have kind of creeped further east and further south, with these last couple of years, and with them losing Ohtani, which was unfortunate.
I went to a lot of games while the Angels had Ohtani and Trout, two of the best players that have ever played the game, and I was just blown away. One night, Ohtani's pitching, and they were batting 1 and 2. They let off the game back-to-back triples, and they were at that. It's the start of the game, so there's like 14,000 people there. By the time everybody got in, there might have been 21, and he's pitching, and he goes 8, and he dominated, and there was nobody there to see it. Now that he's with the Dodgers, everybody sees it. That place is packed. The media is covering it beyond belief, and it's just a different vibe.
It is. It's a tough place to win as a visiting player now, going into Dodger Stadium. I mean, the lineup is just crazy. I feel like too, we've kind of distanced ourselves from Shohei being a pitcher, and it's like a lot of people forget how dominant he was. And I know they've talked about him being able to come back at the end of this season. I mean, I can't imagine their rotation, adding him to it, or even in the bullpen, whatever.
Yeah, I see him being a guy that can come in and maybe set up for the closer, because that's a big load, especially after the Tommy John and just coming back maybe a little early. I think he should be a pen guy. Plus, they're so deep in with their rotation, it'd be kind of like a little silly.
It's an embarrassment of riches in LA, that's for sure. I mean, I guess it kind of can see where they're at, but they also have so many back end bullpen guys too. I mean, they're probably carrying three closers or so. With Trinan, Scott, Yates. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
It really is. And let's talk again about this childhood period of time growing up in Southern California. Because of the weather, you can play baseball year round. And when I was a kid, and I'm a little older than you, we played a lot of sandlot ball. Like, in other words, we'd just meet at a park, and it was before cell phones or anything like that. So it'd be like, all right, I'm going to be there at 8 a.m. And then people would just start showing up, and you'd play a little bit of a game, and then more people would show you play more of a game. Did you have that as well? Like, you guys just played wiffle ball or hot box or something that developed skills that you didn't really know was happening at the time?
Yeah, I would say, so I'll answer this in two parts. One is, I don't know if we had any sort of sandlot type baseball, but two things. One is having the access to the local park, even at a young age. A lot of times my dad we'd walk over with a bucket of balls and, 100 ground balls at third base. And then we'd, take a batting practice. And then I was able to go off and play and do whatever I wanted with my friends. But he kind of instilled a really good work ethic in me. Like you said, not really knowing. I wasn't really thinking about it at the time, but I'm pretty sure it did, because I was always a hard worker when I played. In terms of like what I did baseball wise, I had a small backyard, so it was really long and wide but short, but it actually worked as like almost like a pitching mound. So I remember there was a concrete wall that divided the house from myself and the neighbor, and I remember I would always go outside and I would put duct tape on the concrete and make my own strike zone. And I would constantly be, trying to throw strikes, trying to work inside the box, outside the box. And then when my friends would come over, we would go in the backyard and we would do the same thing, except with either wiffle ball or tape ball. A lot of times I would roll up newspapers, which you can barely find a newspaper these days too. We would roll up newspapers, and then I would roll it up tight, and then I would duct tape the newspaper together and then make a baseball. And for us, we would lose too many of the wiffle balls, and that was our way of, if we lose the ball, it's no big deal. Just get more tape and just keep crumbling up. Those Sunday newspapers were thick.
That's a Sandlot story through and through, bud. That's exactly what Sandlot's all about, because that's kids thinking outside the box, figuring out how they continue to play, even making equipment. You've seen stories about Mariano Rivera making a glove out of a milk carton. Because that's what he had access to, and that's what he could utilize. And so it's just the fact that you guys got together, you innovated. Parents didn't know what was going on. That's what I loved about it too. We'd meet and we would play, and we would, govern the rules. We would umpire, we would keep score, we would modify the rules when needed. And every single venue had a different game we played with different equipment and a different set of rules. So that really made us be creative.
It did. And so I said, the backyard was really wide, but it had, you could obviously hit the ball over the fence. If you hit it, too much to right field, too much to left field would go off my house. So that would be foul. And right field would go into my neighbor's backyard. So we always were trying to keep the ball up to the middle of the field. And then I had a big, huge tree that was behind like where the pitcher's mound would be. And so if you hit the ball into the tree, you can the ball would trickle down from the tree, and, we try to catch it, and that would be an out.
So again, modifying the game of baseball to make it work for the confines of the area that you had. And then you said you had to hit the ball up the middle. Well, I had a backyard where we were all dead pull right-handed hitters, and the houses were over there where we would have hit it. So we batted left-handed, and
there you go.
Everybody hit the ball up the middle left-handed for some reason, and nobody could really pull it. But it gave us that, working the other side of the body, the other side of the hand and eye, and then we ran the bases there. But everywhere else, we kind of played like corkball games where you just hit and single, double, triple homer. So
different
venues, different skills. And when I became a scout, I realized, wow, that game that we played developed this. The catch and throw, the exchange, the find the seams, the, shuffle your feet, make a good throw, the catch and tag. All those games we played developed those skills, and you didn't even know it as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. I ended up becoming a control type pitcher, and probably some of those skills that I was using when I was 8, 9 years old in my backyard that, probably helped. You're right.
We're with Dan Haren. He's a 13-year major league veteran, right-handed pitcher. Dan, we're going to go to a quick break. Don't go away, everyone. We'll be right back with more from Dan Haren. Don't go away. When we return, we have more from Major League All-Star Dan Haren. You're listening to The Sandlot right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays.
I was pretty much decided for me to play baseball when I was born.
The Sandlot's where it all starts, doesn't it?
I wasn't bigger than everybody. I just threw harder.
It doesn't take any talent to hustle.
If you don't pull for the Dodgers, there's a good chance you may not get into heaven.
Something happened.
It's National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
It's Derek Jeter, New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Step up to the plate with Econoware Solar Services. Their solar services deliver unbeatable energy savings, keeping your power bills low all season long. Be a game changer. Switch to clean energy today. Sandlot listeners, mention the show for an exclusive discount. Econoware at 714-333-0130 and hit your energy savings out of the park.
I cannot hit curveball. Straight ball, I hit it very much. Curveball, that's our friend.
The thing I say, never give up and believe in yourself.
Everything you do with your heart. Doesn't matter the result. Try to do the best, but do with your heart.
I was going to the mound and just threw as hard as I could.
Looking for printed apparel for your school, business, sports team, or company event? Max Graphics LA is your solution. Go to maxgraphicsla.com today and check out our options. We offer screen printing, embroidery, and more on clothes from major suppliers. Our graphic designers can help you with your logo or design. We also offer custom online retail shops where we take care of all orders and fulfillment. Visit our website at maxgraphicsla.com or call 310-595-1195 today to get started.
Hi, this is Todd Helton, and I still listen to The Sandlot.
This is Ryan Braun from the Milwaukee Brewers, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
This is Nate McLeod, National League All-Star with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
This is Mike Cameron from the Milwaukee Brewers, and I'm still listening to The Sandlot.
South Bay Credit Union features 3 centrally located branches in the South Bay, 24/7 time-saving digital banking tools, over 30,000 free ATMs nationwide, and a 100% commitment to the South Bay. South Bay Credit Union cares about their community. They've contributed over 3,600 employee volunteer hours. Over 20 local organizations have received donations or sponsorships, and they have raised over $150,000 for the Children's Miracle Network. South Bay Credit Union. Live better, do better, bank better.
Hey, this is Hall of Famer Rich Goose Gossage, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Hi, this is Jason Giambi of the Colorado Rockies, and you're listening now to The Sandlot.
This is David Eckstein from the San Diego Padres, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
This is Ferguson Jenkins, Hall of Famer, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome back to The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. We're right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. We are Fox Sports. Right now, we have more from D-backs pitching guru in charge of run prevention for the D-backs, former MLB workhorse, Dan Haren. We're with Dan Haren, right-handed pitcher with many major league clubs. Let's talk about coming out of high school, Dan. You had the opportunity to go to one of the coolest places in the country to play college baseball with one of the most scenic ball fields there is at Pepperdine. Let's talk about that process of getting through high school, getting really good to the point where, man, I might get drafted, but I also have the option to go D1 and Pepperdine right over here on the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so coming out of, even in high school, I was a two-way player, so did a lot of hitting, played some first, third base, and, did some pitching. Had some different opportunities with schools. A lot of them were back east, a couple local USC type schools, but they were seeing me mostly as just a pitcher, like a developmental project. I was somewhat of a hard thrower at the time, maybe 90 miles an hour. I don't know. Probably not even close to 90 as a senior, but I would say, high 80s or so. But Pepperdine gave me the opportunity to hit and pitch, and the school was beautiful, and it was. I was always been kind of a homebody, wanted to be close to home, but not too close. So it gave me the opportunity to be a couple hours away. I can come home when I needed to come home, and really just fit everything I wanted. So got my freshman year there, was going to primarily hit, and we had an injury to one of the primary starting pitchers. So there was kind of an open competition for a starting pitcher spot, and ended up winning that competition and did a lot of pitching and hitting my freshman year. And then really started developing after that. After that season, my velocity started jumping up a little bit, and I started filling out into my body. I was always really tall and lanky, and started filling out a little bit toward my sophomore year. And then it was like, wow, my opportunity to get drafted was going to be as a pitcher. So really focused on that in my middle college years there.
At one point, did you think, like when you went to Pepperdine, I know you liked to be a two-way guy. Did you think you might have a chance to be a pro as a hitter as well? Or
no?
Okay. So you went there with the opportunity to do both, but knowing my career is going to be pitching.
I would say no, actually. When I was in high school, my only goal was to be able to earn a scholarship and be able to play baseball in college. And I don't think that the opportunity to be drafted was even a thing for me until maybe my sophomore year in college. I saw myself as just a baseball player getting an education, and didn't really even contemplate leaving school after 3 years until maybe my starting to get into, like I said, my sophomore year. Then I was like, wow, I might throw it hard enough to get drafted. And so really worked hard that off season with some throwing program stuff, kept trying to boost velocity, and ended up having a really good junior year. And, my goal was, wow, I can get drafted and see how high I can possibly get drafted. And even when I got drafted, getting to the big leagues seemed like a long shot, and a lot of things happened. It was hard work. Things bounced my way, and but the hard work definitely helped those things. Helped my talents come out and stuff. So there was never any like long-term goal. Oh, I want to be a Hall of Fame pitcher. No, it was always, I wanted to go to college. I wanted to get drafted. And then once I got drafted, I was like, man, maybe I can really get to the big leagues. Then I get to the big leagues, I was like, wow, I got to stay in the big leagues now. And that was always my approach to it. It was never a long-term thing where I'm like, oh, I want to be a 10-year major league player.
So Dan, those years at Pepperdine, when you're getting better and you're becoming a one-way guy, now they call it a PO, pitcher only, and you're learning the craft, you're throwing harder, but that backyard strike zone, that 17-inch square that you put out there on the wall, that was what led to the command. Because throughout the history of the game, guys with over 2,400 innings pitched typically don't have a 4-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. It's pretty rare. And the other thing is the durability. All those years with never missing a start, man. You're a manager's dream as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, missing a start was never an option for me. I always, no matter how I felt the day after I pitched, I knew that I was going to take the ball in 5 days. And there was a lot of times where I felt okay after the day after. There's a lot of times where I felt like crap the day after, or even a couple days after. But always felt the obligation to be out there for the other 24 guys on my roster, and was going to take the ball no matter what. And that was just always my mentality. I worked super hard. I would always throw bullpens in between. I was a big, I lifted a lot of weights, did plenty of cardio, tried to keep myself in the best shape I could. And like I said, it was never an option for me. It was always taking the ball, and I wanted the ball. I wanted to stay in the game. And, guys were staying in the game longer back then. A lot of times was getting closer to 120 pitches or so. And so I was able to run deep into games. And yeah, I think just more the mentality of no matter how I feel or, there's always going to be aches and pains, but a lot of times you get out there and the adrenaline starts kicking in and those aches and pains go away and you just start competing. And that's what I did.
Now, second round with the Cardinals, and what a great organization to get drafted by, rich tradition, especially in pitching. So you start your career with them. Let's talk about the road to the big leagues, because that's not the easiest thing either. And like you said, you were just happy that you got drafted and happy that you're going into the minor leagues.
Yeah. So I got drafted in 2001. I played every level of the minor leagues. So 2001 went to short season A-ball in Augusta, New Jersey, played in the New York Penn League. Had a pretty good year. Ended up coming back 2002 was my first spring training. Started in low A, Peoria, and started really doing well in Peoria and got moved up to high A that year. Struggled a little bit more there, but the competition was getting much tougher. So ended up that first year having a pretty solid year. And so in 2003, I started the year in Double A, and that's when things started really clicking for me in Double A of 2003. Had, I think, I want to say 8 or 10 really good starts in a row for Double A, and was moved up to Triple A in the middle of that 2003 season. Triple A was definitely tougher for me. It was kind of having an up and down year, but like most major league teams, there's always going to be injuries. And when you're at AAA, sometimes even AA, but AAA, you just feel so close. And, if you're throwing well in the starting rotation and someone goes down in the big leagues, hopefully your slot lines up. And that's kind of what happened with me that year. Ended up making, I believe, 10 or 12 starts. Started off really well. I think I was 3-2 with maybe a 4 ERA, but ended up struggling the last bit of that year. Ended up going to big league camp in 2004, got sent back to AAA, was up and down a little bit that year, but like I said, the injuries caught up to that 2004 Cardinals team, and started throwing pretty well out of the bullpen in August, September for them, even though I was starting for AAA. Came up August, September, and kind of found my role there toward the end of that season, and we made a World Series run the year. It was the year the Red Sox broke the curse, but I was a pretty big part of the Cardinals bullpen that year. And then, was excited to come back and compete for a starting spot with the Cardinals, then got traded and really got the opportunity when I got traded to Oakland. And then, I just took the ball every day starting in 2005 for Oakland, and the rest was history.
Yeah. Many years in a row with that 33 to 35 starts, which is the marker, we want to, our starter wants to get that 33 to 35 starts, and that means you don't miss one. And that's amazing. Mm-hmm. So that means no DL.
No, I went on the DL twice in my career. Once was because I was struggling so bad, they wanted to give me a break. That was when I was with Washington, what they call the Phantom DL. But the other time was I injured my back in a bullpen session with the Angels, and ended up pitching through some pain, but that was the only time where I would say I really injured myself. Never really had an arm injury, never missed any starts due to an arm injury. So yeah, I ended up retiring because of my hip and my back. I actually got my hip replaced 2 years after I retired. So, and that freed up some of my back pain. But making all those starts every year takes a toll on the body.
No doubt about it, but the durability thing definitely paid off. He's a guy that won over 150 games in the major leagues. And another thing that scouts notice is the WAR, 35 WAR over your career. That's another number that just means you're better than everybody else in the league most of the time. So that's something you got to look at as, man, I was good. Dan, we're going to go to another break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the greatest moments in your major league history, but also about what you're doing today, because now you work for the D-backs. So we're going to go to a quick break. Don't go away. We have more from Dan Haren when we return right here on the Sandlot. Before we go to the break, let's talk a little bit more about Mr. Haren. his 13-year major league career. Talking about a workhorse. There's a number of years where Dan had as many starts as a major league pitcher could in a calendar season. And there's 7 or 8 of them in a row. He also had over 2,500 innings pitched and almost as many strikeouts and only 500 walks. He had a 4-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, which is really unheard of, especially for a starting pitcher. One thing to have control, but Dan Haren had more than control. He had command. We're going to go to a break. We'll be right back with more from Dan Haren when we return right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Talking baseball, the man and Bobby fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball is the premier training facility in all of Greater Los Angeles. The Wrecking Yard features state-of-the-art equipment and is staffed by professional-level coaches. All Wrecking Yard coaches have played or coached at the college level or higher. Looking for a travel team this summer? We have teams ranging from 8 to 18U. Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball offers cage rentals, lessons, team instruction, camps, clinics, birthday parties, and more. Come on down to the Wrecking Yard. We'd love to have you.
The heat was unbearable. My AC was striking out and my house felt like a summer game with no shade. Then I called EconoAir. What a game changer. They knocked the heat out of the park and now I'm comfortable year-round. Give EconoAir a call today at 714-333-0130. That's 714-333-0130. Sandlot listeners mention the show for an exclusive discount on maintenance or repair with EconoAir.
With so many banking options out there, why choose South Bay Credit Union? As a nonprofit credit union, they're here to serve you, not shareholders. That means they're able to provide better rates, fewer fees, and more valuable benefits to empower their members to live better and do better. You want to master your money? South Bay Credit Union puts you in control of your money with everyday banking solutions. From checking accounts to home mortgages, credit cards to auto loans, their members have access to the tools they need to achieve their financial goals now and in the future.
Hey folks, this is Andy Van Slyke. If you really want the inside information, the inside secrets, what it means to be a big league player, listen to the Sandlot. You're going to get a perspective about relationships with husbands and wives at the big league level, about sons and fathers at the big league level, and why these guys who got to the big leagues, why they have so much passion. It's because they all started on the Sandlot. So if you want to be educated about baseball, listen to the Sandlot. This is Andy Van Slyke.
I guess destiny ain't always meant to be, kind of like you and me that day. We got course, but course doesn't cut it. Had a good run, end up with nothing but a 3x5 as you hide in a drawer. We swung for the fences and came up short. Yeah, you win some, you lose some, it ain't always home runs, and that's just the way life plays. If we were a team and love was a game.
Welcome back to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. We're right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. KAVL, the Antelope Valley's sports talk station. I'm your host, Tad Powers. Now we have more from a man with over 2,500 innings pitched and 16 complete games as a starting pitcher, Dan Haren. Back with Major League veteran right-handed pitcher Dan Haren. Dan, thanks for sticking around on the Sandlot.
Yep, good talking, man.
So let's talk about some of the big moments in your career, because when you win 150 plus games, you've had some moments and you've been on some teams that were contenders. Let's talk about some of the biggest moments you had in your career, Dan.
One that we kind of touched on, I think pitching in the World Series in 2004 was just a crazy experience, being so young at the time. And looking back, I probably didn't appreciate it so much at the time, just not realizing the magnitude of the game. But that was a really special moment, just having my parents out there for the whole playoff run, and that's got to be up there. But in 2007, I believe it was, I was an all-star for the A's, and the all-star game was in San Francisco, so it was right there, and I started that all-star game, which was really cool. Probably one of the most I was so nervous before that game, which was crazy. And I was more happy when I was done pitching. You can really enjoy it, but it's stressful for a starting pitcher going up against that lineup. So that's got to be up there for me. And then just having the opportunity to play close to home. I played for both the Angels and the Dodgers. So I had some really good years with the Angels here, and was able to have a lot of family around with both of my wife's family and my family are Southern California. So I had tons of people at all those games. So those are probably some of my best memories there. And then, toward the tail end of my career, I kind of bounced around a couple different teams, but there's something special about all those teams. Ended my career with Chicago, and it's such a unique experience playing for the Cubs, all the day games. Really was taking it in because I knew that it was probably going to be my last year. Just my body was kind of not holding up, so really tried to enjoy that. We made a pretty deep playoff run, but didn't win it. The Cubs won it actually the next year. Yes, those last couple of years, I really tried to enjoy myself and take it all in, and it was a really great time.
Now, in all these years of playing too, let's talk about some of the superstars, maybe even future Hall of Famers that you had a chance to play with and against.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the All-Star thing, really one of my favorite at-bats ever that I remember so clearly was the last year of the old Yankee Stadium, and the All-Star game was held there. And I was on the D-backs at the time, and I got to face Derek Jeter in Yankee Stadium on the last All-Star game ever at Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium. We had a long, drawn-out at-bat. He ended up grounding out to second base, I believe. But man, that was a good one. That ranks up there. And then those All-Star games I remember facing Ken Griffey and just Ichiro, just so many guys like that. Those are so fun. Looking back on, at the time, like I said, super stressful, but now looking back, those are some great ones. And then the milestone, I believe I got my 100th win at home. I want to say it was a 1-0 win against Justin Verlander. So that was a special one. And there's a lot of it would this podcast would be 2 hours long if I wanted to go through all those, but so many great memories. And like I said before, just having family around to enjoy that, I'm really happy that it happened.
And teammates, let's talk about who was the biggest name teammate for you.
A couple. So it was random places. So with the A's, Frank Thomas was there for 1 year and had a monster year. I believe he had over 40 homers that year. So I believe that was 2006 with the A's. We went to the ALCS, that team. So that was a big one. And I believe the next year, Mike Piazza was on the A's. So that was crazy. So two of them there. And then I had mentioned him before, but playing with Ichiro, my last season, 2015 with Miami, that was a really special one too. Funny guy. And I just really enjoyed playing with him too.
Now, Dan, we go into this transition as players, and everybody does it. At some point, it's over. And we talked before about how some guys stay in the game, they figure out a path, and other guys get out, and then they feel like outsiders because once you're out, you're kind of out. Let's talk about what you chose to do and what you're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, I retired in 2015. 2016, I took completely off and spent the whole time with my family, and I get plenty of family time now too, but spent a lot of family time that year. But I didn't realize how much I would miss baseball till I left the game, and had an opportunity to come back. There was my old agent had told me that a new group was coming into Arizona, and he had some relationships with them. The front office was coming in, and so I remember Zach Greinke was on the D-backs at the time, and he was a friend I played with him on the Angels and the Dodgers. And he had mentioned to me something about maybe possibly doing some of the advanced work there. And it was something that I was really good at toward the end of my career, is game planning and advanced scouting. And the D-backs had a need for it at the time. So we built up. I started there in 2017, and now I think I'm going on 9 years. We had one World Series run 2 years ago, and we've built up it's called a run prevention department. And I do a lot of the advanced game planning and work hand in hand with starting pitchers and catchers, just how to attack hitters and stuff like that. So it's been fun, and it keeps me involved. I like the role that I have. It's not just a special assistant type job. It's one where I'm really ingrained in the day-to-day operation of the team. And then you start, because of that, you end up caring. And if I had a special assistant job or something a little, I would say, easier than this, there's a lot of computer work and stuff, I don't know if I would care as much, but I do plenty of work. I live and die with the D-backs now, and it's been a really fun ride. We've had some really good teams and we've had some bad teams, but that's baseball.
Yeah, and you do go through those roller coasters, especially if you're around for that long, 9 years in the job. You look at the new analytics of the game, and there are jobs that are coming up that didn't exist before, and the one you're talking about is one of those.
It is, and even my job now, there's a lot of automation with the systems that are being used, but I try to put a personal touch on it. Just having competed at the highest level, I feel like I'm able to relate to players, pitchers a lot better, and I'm able to kind of dissect the data side of it and hand it to them in a way that they can understand. And all pitchers are different. Some like a ton, some like a lot, some like just to know the basics, or some guys want to just trust their catcher. Everybody's different, and I try to. Everyone has a different report, and try to tailor it to what they really want to see.
Well, in addition to working with big leaguers, you're also working with 8-year-olds. You have a son that's playing, and you know what? At 8 years old, it starts to get competitive nowadays. And let's talk a little bit about what that's like, the travel ball culture, and what you're seeing, because there's some good and bad in it.
Yes, definitely. There is a lot of good and a lot of bad, unfortunately, but it's kind of, it just wasn't like this, 30 plus years ago when I was playing baseball in West Covina, just, whatever all-star team we had, it's just different now. And the baseball is super competitive at a young age. And you feel like if you're not giving that opportunity to your kid, then maybe they're missing out, or it's, the FOMO type thing. And you want to give them the best opportunity to develop. So there's a lot of parts of travel baseball that I don't agree with. Some of the usage of pitchers, and the parents are often very emotional and tough to deal with. But when it comes down to it, I'm doing it for my own son. And, I wanted him to have a safe place to learn where he can fail and it could be okay. And for him to have a coach that's going to try to teach him the right way to play the game. And we have a really good group of families and kids, and they call it travel ball, but at 8 years old, we don't go very far, whether it's maybe an hour or two out of the way. But it's been a challenge, and it's crazy how emotional, like I said, the parents are, and the kids. Sometimes I feel bad for them, just trying to compete at such a high level at such a young age. It seems a little overwhelming for them, but like I said, I pride myself in giving them a good atmosphere to learn the game, and there's going to be a lot of ups and a lot of downs, and we'll just kind of roll with it. So it's been fun. And did some this last weekend was down in San Diego, and I'll take the kids out to Arizona once a year to give them kind of the behind the scenes stuff where I work, and we'll get to the field, get on the field, play some catch, stuff like that.
From the little league fields of West Covina to Pepperdine to the minor leagues to the big leagues, with the Cardinals, the A's, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Nationals, the Dodgers again, Miami, and the Chicago Cubbies, my team. Dan, what a pleasure to have you as a guest on the Sandlot. Now he's doing pitching analysis and analytics for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he's coaching his 8-year-old. Dan Haren, thank you so much for being a guest on the Sandlot. It was certainly our pleasure to have you.
Awesome. It was great talking.
Thanks for listening to the first Sandlot show of the 2025 season. It's so good to be back on Fox Sports Radio. You can listen to Sandlot every Saturday morning right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. Also streamed live on 610foxsports.com. You can catch replays of this year's and past season's episodes on the Sandlot Radio Show SoundCloud page. You can also listen to replays on Sirius XM Radio MLB Network podcast station. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Sandlot Radio Show for video content with the players. We also have links to our YouTube and Spotify. Please explore the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website to check out our reels and images from our long history of covering everything from the Sandlot to the big leagues. If you're interested in advertising your business on the Sandlot Radio Show, give us a call at 303-350-0655 or send a message to the website. We want to thank our guests on today's show. We had former Major League outfielder with the Rockies, now media guru, Ryan Spilborghs. I want to thank him for being a guest in our Who's Hot, Who's Not opening segment. I'd also like to thank Southern California native, went to Pepperdine. Wow, what a cool place to play. Former Major League pitcher, now D-backs run prevention pitching strategist, Dan Haren. Be sure to tune in next week as we will have more great guests all season long. The Sandlot is sponsored by Econoware, South Bay Credit Union, Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball, and Max Graphics and Printing. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Is this heaven? It's Iowa. Is there a heaven? Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true. Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch? I'd like that.
Step up to the plate with Econoware Solar Services. Their solar services deliver unbeatable energy savings, keeping your power bills low all season long. Be a game changer. Switch to clean energy today. Sandlot listeners, mention the show for an exclusive discount. Econoware at 714-333-0130 and hit your energy savings out of the park.
South Bay Credit Union features 3 centrally located branches in the South Bay, 24/7 time-saving digital banking tools, over 30,000 free ATMs nationwide, and a 100% commitment to the South Bay. South Bay Credit Union cares about their community. They've contributed over 3,600 employee volunteer hours. Over 20 local organizations have received donations or sponsorships, and they have raised over $150,000 for the Children's Miracle Network. South Bay Credit Union. Live better, do better, bank better.
This is Aaron Cook.
This is Aaron Rose.
This is Al Leiter.
This is Chase Headley.
This is Clint Hurdle of the Colorado Rockies, and I listen to The Sandlot.
Looking for printed apparel for your school, business, sports team, or company event? Max Graphics LA is your solution. Go to maxgraphicla.com today and check out our options. We offer screen printing, embroidery, and more on clothes from major suppliers. Our graphic designers can help you with your logo or design. We also offer custom online retail shops where we take care of all orders and fulfillment. Visit our website at maxgraphicla.com or call 310-595-1195 today to get started. Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball is the premier training facility in all of Greater Los Angeles. The Wrecking Yard features state-of-the-art equipment and is staffed by professional-level coaches. All Wrecking Yard coaches have played or coached at the college level or higher. Looking for a travel team this summer? We have teams ranging from 8 to 18U. Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball offers cage rentals, lessons, team instruction, camps, clinics, birthday parties, and more. Come on down to the Wrecking Yard. We'd love to have you.